Hello everyone, and welcome to part 4 of What If the Rescue Bots were placed on Team Prime. So without further ado, let's get right to it. So we start off this part with Optimus and his team of Autobots, planning out the teams on who will go to which locations for the relics. And hence, it happens, which the first team is RC, Bumblebee, and Boulder head into the railway with Agent Fowler, because in this universe, Flying Mine did not happen, so he is perfectly fine to help in the field. So yeah, the four of them arrive at the railway, where they peek around the corner, and they see Knockout, Hardshell, and a group of Vehicons. So they look around the corner at the Decepticons, and from behind them comes Hardshell, punching Bumblebee. Knockout and the other Vehicons are then alerted to the presence of the Autobots, and Knockout orders the Vehicons to attack. So the Vehicons run at the Autobots, start shooting their weapons at them. Boulder then says, "You two get the relic. I'll handle this Insecticon." RC's like, "You sure? You're inexperienced." And Boulder's like, "Oh, don't worry. I got this." RC and Bumblebee go head first into the Vehicon team, shooting their weapons, while Boulder handles Hardshell. Boulder punches Hardshell, but Hardshell is not really affected, and he's like, "Fool, I have faced against wreckers. What makes you think you have the capacity to defeat me?" That is when Hardshell rushes at Boulder. That is when Boulder takes out his subsonic repeater and shoots Hardshell, keeping Hardshell in place. And that is when Boulder notices that little electrical rail, so he decides to do something. He keeps shooting with one hand, and using his other hand, he takes out his EDK tech vault emitter and shoots at the rails, and which the electricity then ricochets all over the place, and it electrocutes Hardshell. Boulder makes it a very powerful voltage, which ends up killing Hardshell. He now looks to Bumblebee and RC, and they have the phase shifter, with Knockout realizing that he's even more outnumbered than before. He retreats rather than risk ruining his paint job. So now the phase shifter is in the hands of the Autobots. Now we get to Optimus, Heatwave, and Chase ground bridging into the Arctic. So the three of them immediately locate the relic, and they transform and head towards the town where it's in, the little research facility. And that is where they see dead humans. Chase then says they can expect murder charges. That is where they walk up, and then they see the Decepticons thawing out the Apex armor. Optimus then says, "Decepticons, surrender, or we will be forced to use more lethal methods." Dreadwing then says, "Seekers, attack." Chase and Heatwave run out with the Starscream clones chasing them. Optimus and Dreadwing then get into a confrontation. Dreadwing, surrender. The Decepticons have fallen. That is where you're wrong, Optimus. We live. You assaulted our warship. Where's the honor within attacking defenseless opponents? Where's the honor in joining a tyrant? Dreadwing then says, "For Skyquake." And then they get into a fight. So we get outside where the three Starscream coneheads, Dirge, Thrust, and Ramjet, are raining fire at Chase and Heatwave from above, shooting missiles at them. And we see a really cool moment where Ramjet tries to ram Chase head on, but Chase pulls off a move. He transforms, drives head on at Ramjet, but right before Ramjet hits him, he transforms and floats above Ramjet in slow motion and kicks him down and lands on the floor. And that is where he looks to see Dirge and Thrust flying at Heatwave, and they've all shoot their rockets, 4 rockets, at the ice below Heatwave, which causes Heatwave to fall into the water. Heatwave looks up, realizing that he's stuck underwater. He looks around, but that's when he sees something. A sunken speedboat. He then decides, why not? And he scans a new alt mode. He then transforms, surfacing back up. Chase is glad to see Heatwave still good, and together they fight the Coneheads. Heatwave then whips out his flamethrower and fires it up at the Seekers in the air, hitting their wings and making them all crash down. And while Heatwave is doing that in a tag team move, Chase pins them all down as they land and puts stasis cuffs on the Coneheads. Back with Dreadwing and Optimus. Dreadwing notices this and pulls off a move, jumping over Optimus, snatching the Apex armor, and flying away. Optimus orders Heatwave and Chase to take the Coneheads into custody, and so they do. So now we get to Bulkhead and Wheeljack flying in the jackhammer to the same place, just like in canon. And soon enough, they have two bogies on their tail. Soundwave and Redwing open fire on the jackhammer, causing it to crash down just like in canon. Soundwave orders Redwing to finish off the Autobots while he goes after the relic. Wheeljack and Bulkhead decide to split up. Wheeljack heads to the relic and Bulkhead stays to face Redwing. So Redwing transforms and says, "Greetings, Bulkhead. It is time that I finish you off, just like I skewered a certain cliff jumper." That is when Bulkhead charges at him and starts beating him up, just like how he did in canon to that Starscream clone on the Nemesis. But Redwing uses his thrusters, boosting out of the way from Bulkhead's last punch, and is in the air taunting Bulkhead. But that is when Bulkhead grabs a rock and throws it at the Starscream clone's legs, causing him to go down. We then get to Wheeljack and Soundwave duking it out, just like how they did in canon. But one key difference: Wheeljack does not shatter Soundwave's visor. Instead, Soundwave gets the upper hand on him, just like I did in canon with the Resonance Blaster. Back with Bulkhead, he has the Starscream clone Redwing on the floor, and that is when Laserbeak comes out of nowhere and starts shooting at him. So Bulkhead actually manages to take down Laserbeak, and he's about to kill Laserbeak, but through comms, he and Raph are talking, because we never got a Raph and Bulkhead conversation in canon. So they come up with the same plan that Ratchet thought about in canon, but with the Nemesis kind of gone. Instead, all it would basically do is transmit all of the Iacon coordinates to the Autobot computers once Soundwave reaches wherever the new comm base is. Wheeljack then comes over comms to Bulkhead and just gives him a heads up that Soundwave is on his way. That is where Soundwave shows up and gets Laserbeak, just like how he did in canon. And he sees Redwing wounded on the floor, grabs him and drags him, opening a ground bridge and returning to the Harbinger, where the cons are hiding out in this world. Bulkhead and Wheeljack return to base, where they see the Coneheads there in stasis cuffs. Optimus is interrogating them. Where are the Decepticons hiding out? Heatwave, Chase, Blades, and Boulder are thinking, wait, where are Blades, Smokescreen, and Ratchet? We then see an SOS come on the computer. One Autobot signal has been terminated. And that's where I'm going to leave it off here, everybody. Hopefully you guys enjoyed part 4. And I'll see you guys in part 5.